Well, what's going on, folks? Curtis Wilkerson and Scotty Borderline of Natty State Sports coming to you with the Friday episode of the Pod at the Palace. Arkansas got its doors blown completely off by Tennessee in what was a half-full Bud Walton Arena Wednesday night. I think, Scotty, we understand that people don't care about that, and rightfully so. Frankly, the details don't really matter at this point, so...
Sure.
We're not going to spend much time at all talking about this Tennessee game as a whole, other than maybe just some initial quick thoughts. What do you got?
No, I think so. Last night, I wrote by the numbers. Tennessee made itself at home on the road, and the whole time while I was writing that, I was thinking in the back of my mind exactly what you just said. Like when I was writing, like people don't care about the details at this point. And then I ended up writing like an analysis of like, here are the numbers that tell the story of Arkansas's latest blowout loss at home. And so I get why people probably aren't reading it.
Yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it?
It's very frustrating. I think we've been in a state of frustration for weeks.
Yeah.
Because I know this pod's good, and I know the stuff that we're writing is good, but the team is not. So interest is not there.
Yeah, we're kind of at their mercy. Yeah. And it's, I think the crowd at that game last night and the energy in that building was very indicative of kind of what we've seen from this team, just kind of a halfway effort and just a lack of intensity. Arkansas and Bud Walton Arena used to be a place that overwhelmed opponents, and it was because of the style of play that Arkansas had, the brand of basketball, and because the atmosphere in there is second to none. And I'll say two things: when Bud Walton Arena is rocking, it's as good as anywhere you go in the country. It was not that last night. There was a top 10 team in the country there. The place was half full. I understand why. I completely understand why. It's our job to sit there and watch it, but it wasn't necessary. I probably could have done other things in my life on Valentine's Day. I get it.
Yeah.
But I think that tells you kind of where people are at with this team right now, and it's kind of a sense of apathy and just meh.
Yeah.
With everything that's going on.
I thought that there might be a good crowd.
I did too.
For the Tennessee game, because you just mentioned Tennessee was coming in as a top 10 team, number 8 in the latest AP poll. And if you're just talking about Tennessee, like they've got a projected lottery pick on their roster, a guy that I said multiple times last night I think could be an NBA rotation guy right now.
Yeah, I buy that.
He's different. Dalton Connect went for like an easy 22. Looked like he barely broke a sweat, getting wherever he wanted, whenever he wanted. And then Arkansas was kind of, it felt like they were maybe carrying some solid vibes from a weekend home win. First win on a Saturday, and then you take into account the game was at 8 o'clock. I get it was on Valentine's Day. I know you want to riff on that, but 8 o'clock on a weeknight, that's the time where you get your big crowds on a weeknight, is a late game.
Yep.
You had all the makings for, what could have been a good crowd. They're just not showing up, and I don't blame them. And they didn't give. Like Arkansas didn't give fans any reason to come back for these last 3 home games, which are going to be stinkers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, my only point with the crowd, and again, like I get it. I 100% understand. Had I not had a job where I get credentials to come into the games, like I probably wouldn't have bought a ticket for this one either. Rumor has it. I snuck in somehow.
I think that's a rumor.
Yeah. Thanks, K-Wood. But at any rate, here's my thing. Just if that's how it's going to be, if you're not going to fill the gym, the arena, no matter what, don't go puffing out your chest and getting upset when Duke comes to town or Kentucky comes to town or Purdue's in for an exhibition or whatever, and it's a packed house and people go, oh, we must be Arkansas Super Bowl. Well, you're proving them right by some of this. And I get it. If Arkansas was, 17-5 right now or whatever, it probably would have been a pretty packed house. But, you ride with them or don't. So you can't have it, but you can't have your cake and eat it too kind of situations. That's my only thing with that. The game itself, Arkansas made some shots early. That was cool. Then Tennessee decided to play defense, and it was over. They're just a better team. They're more talented. They're more physical. They execute better. They're better coached. they're superior in every way.
Yeah.
Just
I mean, you nailed it too in the 4-point play that we team up on before games. You said, can Arkansas have the shot making to keep pace early? Yes. But they were making shots, but they were still in up like 1 or 2 at like early media timeouts. And then the shots stopped falling, and Tennessee literally made almost 70% of its 2-point shots. They put up 92 on Arkansas, and they barely made any threes.
Yep.
Like the thing that stuck out to me after the Tennessee game from Eric, and I promise we'll stop talking about this game soon, but he said, if you had told me that Zakai Ziegler and Dalton Connect were going to combine for 2 threes in this game and we were going to lose by 29 points, he said, would have told you there's no possible way. But this team creates ways.
Yeah, they do.
That happened, and they got blown out again.
Yeah, and it was the other thing he said that I thought was interesting was he was asked about the 3-point defense, which was good, but then obviously they just got crushed in the paint.
Yeah,
and I thought Muss nailed it when he was like, "No, we patch one hole, like patch one leak, and then another one forms."
Yeah,
and that's just kind of what they're doing. Like you fix one issue and another one forms, and it's just it's a flawed team, man.
Yeah, very.
And it's unfortunate. And yeah, I mean, we can move on from Tennessee itself, but that game was just kind of a microcosm of everything that we've seen up to this point. And pardon me for the what's going to be a lengthy rant here, and I promise I'll pass the mic here in a second.
No, you're fine.
Like,
I got nothing to add.
Like for those keeping score at home, I mean, this is where you're at now. Like Arkansas, they're 12-12 on the year. They're 3-8 in SEC play. They have 5 home losses. 5 losses in Bud Walton Arena. They have 5 losses in SEC play by 20 or more points. That's never happened. I went all the way back to when they joined the freaking league today.
Lord.
That's never happened before, and it shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
They're number 133 in the net. They're number 12 in the SEC standings. They haven't finished below 500 since 2009, 2010. They're probably going to this year. Just you take a look at the way the schedule lays out
Trend
there.
in that direction, you might say.
Yeah, and so, I think it's not an exaggeration here to say from, an historic perspective here, this season has been a mess. And it's probably about to get worse next week because they're traveling to a pair of places where Muss has never won.
Yeah.
And he's already planting the seed about the short turnarounds and the schedule being weird. And I do agree with him with what the SEC has done this year with the buys.
And he's
the
not the
turnarounds.
only coach in the league that said this.
Exactly. Yeah. Bruce Pearl was all over it. And so it is an issue. That's for sure. But like he said, like there's no excuse. Like everybody's going through it. It looks like at least once. Arkansas's got it twice here. But it's tough. But I think, what we're going to try to do here is the most frequently asked question last night was, how did we get here?
Yeah.
And, maybe we can answer that question. Maybe we can't. But what I will say, I understand everyone wants to know like exactly what is going on. Like, what are the issues? Where the problem starts? Who's the problem? All that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with one that. And I'm all for like levels of transparency and accountability for this. It's been a debacle. People want to know what's going on. But Scotty, I just feel like there are some things that aren't for public consumption. And I think it's been in poor taste for some of those who are out there who hear things or get info or tidbits or whatever, and they immediately put it out there and create a stir just to get some clout. And that really bothers me, particularly when to me, like it's one thing about, coaching rumors for Eric Musselman. Oh, is he on the move? Like, are other schools looking at him? Whatever. Okay, that's part of the deal. I get it. But it's the stuff from within the walls of the locker room that bothers me. And to me, I think that's off limits. Like I've coached, I've played, and for me, it's always like Vegas. Like what happens in the locker room needs to stay there. Like you don't want your business in your home with your family out there for everybody to hear. And
yes.
Sometimes it's probably rocky. But you know what? You figure it out, and it's none of anybody's business. And I kind of feel like it's the same way with just things that happen with a team. Like if I went and told everybody everything that happened in my locker room when I was coaching, they would think it was a complete disaster. But guess what? We were going to the national tournament every year. We figured it out. It was a brotherhood. Families fight. Stuff happens.
I mean, it's the same way when I played AAU basketball in Little Rock with some guys that, came from a different background as me. Like there were I remember, I think it was at a high school teammate who had an older brother. He played in like the same program, AAU program, and they were like, get done playing a game, you got some free time, you got a few hours, and so there's like a grocery store walking distance. They go there and then just like decide to ride all of the motorized scooters out, and ride them like out of the store, down the sidewalk. I remember there was talk of a gun in somebody's bag at one point. Like that, like nobody knows that stuff,
right?
Outside of the dudes in the locker room mostly. Yeah. But yeah, like this season has literally just had everything. It's had coaching rumors, player rumors,
love triangle rumors,
Like it's absolutely insane.
And I think the Caleb Battle thing, and I feel fine talking about it now because he's already kind of addressed it. Mm-hmm. But I think that's a prime example where, did we hear after the LSU game that he was suspended and he popped off and said something he shouldn't have said? Like, yeah, we heard that. Do I know for sure that it happened? No, I wasn't in the locker room. And quite honestly, I think from a common sense perspective that it's foolish to just start proclaiming on a Monday that a guy is suspended for a game that isn't until Saturday. First of all, it's not in any of our place to do that unless it's a team announcement. But things happen, like cooler heads prevail. Situations are fluid, and had the whisper game not have gotten out of control, he wouldn't be on Twitter beefing with fans, about something that might have happened, might not have happened. But if it did, and it happened within the walls of that locker room, like that's their business to handle. Sure. And it just gets amplified when it doesn't need to. Had that stuff not started getting thrown out there, then he'd have just been playing. Yeah. He would just play it against Georgia as normal, and he wouldn't have been beefing with everybody. Yeah. And it just creates an awkward situation. But my point is, like, I think a couple things can be true, right? I think it's like a twofold situation. Shit happens with a team during the season, everywhere. Arguments take place, people butt heads, guys get in the doghouse. Welcome to college hoops. It doesn't always mean that there's a huge chemistry issue or big problems or whatever. Having said that, with Arkansas, it's hard for me to believe that this season would be in the tank like it is unless the team either wasn't playing for each other or they weren't playing for their coach, or both. Like, you can't convince me that these guys are just bad and this is just a terrible team. Like, something's up there.
Yeah. No, I get that. And it's we're not talking about a choir team, like a group of choir boys. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, gosh, I'm just thinking about everything that happened in my high school locker room. Like, forget AAU for a second. Yeah. My high school locker room, like, there was stuff going on. Kids are, like, other guys getting picked on, getting bullied, fights breaking out in the locker room that, you go practice, come back, it heats up again. Like that, and that stuff just, it stays there. But I think there's I think there is a want for dirt. Yep. People want the dirt.
Absolutely.
Because,
and I don't blame them.
No, I mean, that's why my favorite thing, like when Shams put something out about like something crazy that happened in the league, like I'm going through the comments.
Oh yeah.
And like there's such a want for dirt because, we know stuff like that happens, but you don't, like, there are obviously rumors about stuff, but you don't know what is and what isn't true. I mean, I'm that way with NBA stuff, and I'm sure there's Arkansas fans that want every bit of information, but the stuff that you've told me in the last few weeks, like, it's nuts, but it's
crazy.
It's irresponsible to just take it and put somebody else's business out there, and all this stuff. Like, people hate the term, they're handling things internally, but stuff like that happens. Yeah, freaking everywhere, dude. And like I mentioned earlier, this isn't a group of choir kids or a choir team or whatever. There's some there's personalities in the locker room, and sometimes they don't all jive together. And it may seem like a perfect marriage at first, but that's how relationships are. Like, with the wife or whoever you're with, you have things start well, and then the bumps in the road are inevitable. But it's just how you handle those situations and move forward. I don't know how well things have been handled, because I don't think they're
not very.
I don't know how they're moving forward, in a positive way, really.
Yeah, exactly. And it's I think when you get to a point where the most common themes that you're hearing after a loss from players and coach are lack of competitive spirit and not playing hard enough, which we heard both of those things from player and coach last night after the game.
Yeah.
Are there some internal issues there? Yeah, I mean there just are. Whose fault is it? What's gone wrong? Who knows, man? Who knows? But yeah, like, is there something going on there? Yeah, of course there has to be.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a situation where a less talented team is competing or but they're just not executing or they're just not able to get over the hump. Like, no, like when you have a team that was ranked in the top 15 in the country in the preseason, all of a sudden you've lost 5 SEC games by 20 or more points. You're getting blasted at home.
Yeah. I mean, your average marginal loss at home this year is almost, it's over 17 points.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be a body language doctor, but you can just see, like, the frustration is all over these guys.
Yeah.
And all over them. And I pointed out T-Mark during the Tennessee game. Like, he was on the bench just dejected.
Yeah.
Because he's never, I would imagine, he ain't dealing with nothing like this at Houston.
Right.
Like they probably had still some of the same stuff going on, because that's happening in like every locker room.
Mm-hmm.
The guys get frustrated because this is nowhere close to what they imagined, and the outlook's just not good at all.
And now you're fighting and trying to find motivation to keep rolling, because they're toast, man. Like, unless they go win 5 games in 5 nights, at the SEC tournament. So, and then a lot of guys who came. Obviously to win games and be part of a team and everything, but a lot of those guys are seeing, hey, like, I saw what Ricky Council has done, and maybe I can transfer here and do the same thing.
Yeah.
And for a majority of these guys this year, I'm sure it hasn't gone according to plan. So there's individual stuff, there's ego, there's a lack of chemistry, and then there's a lack of success.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Muss is not an easy guy to deal with when the team is losing. And it's a combination of things.
You bottle all that up. What can you do other than be frustrated?
Right. And so I think that's why we see some of the, I applaud Muss for, he's going in depth when he's answering questions, but at the same time, it's almost like a shrug of the shoulders. Like, what,
Mm-hmm.
Like he said, you patch up one leak and another one forms. You get great play out of El and Keon at the point guard position one night, and it's a mess the next. And Graham and Mackay are balling in the front court, and then they didn't belong on the floor against the Tennessee guys last night. You're to this point in the season and you don't know what you're working with, and you're just at this point. I don't think you're going to figure it out.
I think Eric's known for months though what he's working with, and he's not working with a lot.
Yeah.
Because,
he did tell us.
Just like, shout out to Eric. Like, he constructed this and then semi-quickly found out, like, it was, maybe late non-con.
Mm-hmm.
Things aren't going great, take a loss. And, it's just should have known when he said, not only does this team not have characteristics of past teams, it's just like, just because the turnarounds happen in years past doesn't mean it's going to happen this year. And I think that was kind of his signal that I don't know. Yeah. But he knew months ago that this was going to be probably a pretty bumpy ride.
Yeah. And if you watch closely, and I was trying to pay more attention to body language and stuff last night. And I thought in the first half that they played hard.
Mm-hmm.
But you can tell, like, when adversity hits. And we mentioned T-Mark, and I remember one time he drove the lane, wanted a call, didn't get it, and then he kind of threw his hands up. He's just jogging back down the floor. He doesn't get matched up with Connect, who then drives it, and he just hammers a dunk on Graham. Well, Graham got dunked on because Mark was loafing getting back. And then you could see those two guys kind of eyeballing each other.
Yep.
I saw a situation where, on more than one occasion, where there was a defensive breakdown, and one guy's looking at the other, wondering why he didn't help or he didn't rotate over, and hands are up, and you can see them talking to each other. Meanwhile, Tennessee's scoring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff that tells you, the frustration. It's like a cumulative effect here, I think, that we're seeing.
Yeah. And an adversity hit, like Arkansas, I thought played, other than the 17 points off turnovers that Tennessee got in that first half, Arkansas was okay. Like, all things considered, in a good spot, just down 6. You're at home. Maybe you can keep making shots. But Connect and Ziegler come out at halftime, boom, boom, 5-0, and they take an 11-point lead. And then a couple more minutes go by, and Tennessee leads by at least double figures, like the last 15 minutes, and build it up to 30+. If not for like a Joe Pinion and one, like it would have been another 30-point L. Like they don't handle adversity very well, and I think a lot of these problems are just they're defense related. Like it's just. I don't know.
And
just not a lot of good individual defenders, and that's maybe you're a good offensive player, but are you like a team defense guy?
And it speaks to some of the common themes of this team, because defense is it's two things. It's effort and communication, and so it's how connected are you and how hard do you play.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, we were in the Bahamas, Curtis, and it's like, how many games into the year was that? Like 6 or 7?
Not even that much. Well, they played 4 and then they went down there. Yeah.
Okay. So we're watching these dudes warm up on like day 2. And then we saw
Memphis
practice
game
the day before, and we're like, vibes are pretty good. Like, feel like, some good things might happen against Stanford day 1. Just clawed out of that one somehow. And then day 2, they're warming up, and we're like, these dudes are either really focused or they don't like each other.
Yeah.
And we couldn't tell which one it was.
Yeah.
But then when the game started, you compete with Memphis for a while, and don't know if it's – I kind of started to push focus to the side, I don't know. It's just been – the vibe has just not been great. Kind of when we can all see them all together on the floor.
Yeah.
Not a lot of talking. Jeremiah Davenport and Minifield are like the vibe coordinators.
They
Everybody
dance.
else is just kind of, I don't want to say they're floating, but they're just kind of there.
There's a difference
and
there.
I don't want to go look too much into that, but we've had that thought since Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we absolutely have. And also, like, again, if Arkansas was 12-12 right now and they were losing games, in single digits and had their share of struggles or whatever, you might be able to talk me into that. I don't know. But I think they're quite a bit more talented than what they've shown. But I will admit that I think there are flaws to the roster construction here, especially in hindsight. Like, they should have went out and gotten a true center. Like, they should have went and got a big man to complement some of these other guys. I love Chandler Lawson, but they should have gone out and added a bruiser, a meatball. They should have done that.
A meatball, I love
they didn't,
that.
I didn't think they needed it because I understood what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
Yeah.
So that's a miss there. I think there's a clear hole on the wing that was supposed to be filled by either Ron Holland or the return of Jordan Walsh. Neither one of those things happened. I think that's glaring. I also don't think that they expected Devo to come back until after they added all these other guards. And so I think you have a weird, crowded situation in the backcourt that you just can't really resolve because they have that hole in the wing. It's not as simple as just throwing one of those guys as a small ball 4 and rolling with it like they've been able to in the past with Trey Wade or Aldis Toney or Stanley Mude or whoever. Like they don't have that guy. So really, you got 2 to 3 guard/wing positions, and you got like 8 guys, and there's a log jam there, and so it gets weird. And I think the reason that's the case is because I know they didn't expect Devo back until after they got commitments from all those other guys, and then it started to be like, actually, he might come back. Well, of course you take Devo back, but then you got to figure some stuff out. Early on in the season, it was, Minifield is redshirting. Well, then he gets eligible. The team's struggling. You mix him in there, and it's just another body. And I do think that had an impact. That doesn't mean Keon Minifield's poor for chemistry or anything like that. But when you add a body in the middle of the year like that into an already loaded backcourt, I just feel like, you can't tell me that there's not something to it there in terms of all those guys. So
yeah, no doubt. And that's like just all of the guys you feel like if they're engaged can help you in some way. So sometimes you don't give a guy a shot and you give somebody else that opportunity. Like Eric, like against Tennessee, Eric gave seemingly everybody a shot. And he played 20 different lineups. 20 different lineups in one game.
20?
20.
He played 20 different combinations against Tennessee, is what you're saying?
Yes. I asked you and Ellis that earlier. Maybe it was just Ellis. I asked him that, and his first guess was like 9 or 11. And I'm like, combine those.
Oh, dude.
20 to, like, I don't even want to do the research to see if he's ever done that before, but I guarantee you he's never done that this deep into a season.
Yeah.
Because normally you've got your your rotation nailed down, and it's like you just know that these 8 guys are going to play,
right?
Or maybe a 9th guy if somebody gets in foul trouble, But he tried, like, literally pushed every button, played 20 different lineups, and just the lack of consistency all the way around is what leads to that, and it's gross to watch.
Yeah, and so we'll see what this looks like here moving forward. I'm not very optimistic about this road trip. They haven't won at Mississippi State since 2015. They haven't won in College Station since 2019. Muss has never won at either one of those places.
Yeah.
And they, we've talked about it before, but like both of those teams represent a lot of things Arkansas struggles with in terms of physicality and, toughness and all that. And both of those teams are bubblicious right now.
I was about to say that. They're playing for something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, this could, like, right now, this should be a case for Arkansas to just go, what do we got to lose?
Yep.
And but where's the pride, though?
Yeah.
Like, we might see if they've got an inkling of pride on this 2-game swing, but you're absolutely right. Like, A&M's 15-9, 6-5 in the league. Mississippi State's 16-8, 5-6 in the league. So those teams they're trying to make moves, and they probably grasped the urgency of, you cannot lose to Arkansas at home.
That's where we're at now.
Yeah.
Because
like, losing to Arkansas is a bad loss right now.
At 133 in the net, it would be if Arkansas beat either one of those teams on their own floor, it would be a quad 3 loss for them.
Yeah.
And they can't take those.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're gonna be ready to play. Gosh. That's wild. Like, Arkansas is a quad 3 loss for Duke right now.
Yeah, that's tough.
They got the court storm. There are 20,000 people in there. Like, that was a situation set up for Duke to fail, and that's a quad 3 loss for them.
We talked about this briefly, and then we can move on if you want.
Yeah.
I think me and you have a very shared frustration with these games in February. We've been spoiled, plain and simple. Been spoiled with meaningful basketball games in February, and now it's just like, I don't know that I want to go to the Missouri game. Well, we're not going.
Yeah, we'll be in Arlington. Yeah.
But the Vandy game, I don't know, man.
It's tough.
I don't know, man. It's frustrating to not be covering, games with stakes or consequences or that matter.
Yeah.
For Arkansas, it's incredibly frustrating. It's the last thing I thought that would happen coming into the year.
Oh, 100%. And full transparency, like, we want to get into the weeds of the numbers and the chalk talk and the schemes and the X's and O's and the matchups, but we also have to, keep an eye on what the listeners are interested in and what they're looking for, which is, what is going on with this team? Why does it stink? What are they going to do in the portal?
Yeah.
And so, that's why we've geared a lot of our coverage towards that. And hey, that's great because I enjoy doing that stuff too. But I would love to be diving into the, how is Arkansas going to defend Tolu Smith matchup? And, can they double down and sweep the Aggies, and can they do a better job on Wade Taylor on Tuesday? But, that's not what's getting us listens right now. So
absolutely. I would love to write a story after a game and somebody read it.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be awesome, man. That would be awesome.
But nobody wants to do that. And I get it. I'm not upset with people for just not caring. Like, we're kind of, like you said, we're all at the mercy of this team.
Yeah. Hang with us, because we're going to get through this season together one way or the other. And then we're going to nail it come portal season. So we all have something to look forward to. And also baseball starts on Friday. So
I almost wore a baseball jersey in here.
I know, man. And honestly, I think that's a perfect segue because I knew that the first bit of this was going to be just depressing. Because I know like Razorback fans are frustrated. The way football season went, and the way this has gone, you thought basketball was like your safe haven, like, oh, that's the sure thing. And now it's like, hey, like, no pressure, Andrew, but baseball.
Yeah, like winter and spring was supposed to lift your spirits.
Yeah, you guys got to bring it. But what we need to do here, because we gotta maintain some vibes. I get it. It's all negative with basketball. Even when things are going well at the Tennessee game, I tweet something out, or whatever, and people were jumping on me about it. Well, wait till the end of the game, whatever. I commented on the crowd at the beginning of the game, and then people are still messaging me today, like, you understand why nobody's there now? I get it. I legitimately just asked if there was bad traffic or an accident or something because I heard some people talking about it, and I was like, maybe it'll fill in. It didn't.
Yeah.
It was so what? Like, I get it.
It's a valid question. I mean, something could always happen at the tunnel.
Right.
Coming up.
It usually
49.
does. Right.
Yeah.
But from a vibes perspective, Arkansas is getting ready to go to Mississippi State to the hump. It's weird. They don't play well there historically. Mississippi State's always just kind of been a tough matchup for Arkansas with their style of play. We'll see how excited people are to watch that game at 1 o'clock on Saturday, but maybe, just maybe, we can restore a little bit of vibes going into the weekend with just some fond memories, Arkansas, Mississippi State memories of any variety. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've got a handful. I don't know if you have any.
Yeah.
But maybe we can get the people going a little bit before the Razorbacks get down to Starkville. Yeah.
No, you mentioned it earlier. One of the things that I had was 2015. That was my senior year of college, and I was riding with that team.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Arkansas went down to Starkville and won 65-61. I think that was a Saturday game because I was back at home in Sparkman, and my living room had this coffee table in the middle of the rug in the living room, and I sat on the coffee table the whole time and watched the game, and I just was like living and dying on every shot, and that was a tough one because Arkansas shot 35% in that game, and Mississippi State barely shot 41%. So it was tough watch if you like to see the ball go through the rim. But it was I just remember that team was like in a groove at that point. Kai Madden had 16. Michael Qualls 14, Bobby Portis 13-9, 4 blocks. Like,
that'll play.
Yeah, that team was rolling or playing pretty well at that point. And then earlier, I think it was a couple weeks before that. Yeah, Mississippi State came here and Arkansas held Mississippi State to 41 points, and State had 9 in the first half.
There we go.
I remember I went to that game with my buddy Ryan Taylor. He basically lived on the futon in my dorm room. The crowd was just so in it to see if Arkansas could keep them in single digits in the first half. And that was a rock fight game if there ever was one. 102 total points.
Right.
Kind of reminds me of that Tennessee Arkansas game a couple of years ago, but just stakes were a little bit lower in that one. But the cheer of the crowd when Arkansas went into halftime with State still at 9 points was electric. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man. I mean, even since getting on the beat, I remember my first year was the COVID restricted year. The attendance was restricted or whatever. But I remember the Hogs were on a heater, and Mississippi State came in, and Arkansas just punked them. They held them to 45 points in that game. But the biggest thing for me was I remember that was arguably Connor Vanover's best SEC performance as a Hog. He was really good one time against Auburn, but he had 13 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks in that game against Mississippi State, who had Tolu Smith and who was the dude that got the buzzer beater tip in against the Hogs the year before?
Abdullah Doo.
Yes, he was still there.
Tip in with virtually no time left.
Yeah, and
so crusher.
So that was a big team, and I just remember Connor playing really well and Arkansas winning that game. And then 2 years ago, I remember Arkansas, they were on the heater again. They were doing that thing where they were figuring it out, and Mississippi State came into Bud Walton Arena, and it was Arkansas won the game. It was low scoring. It was 63-55. It was kind of a clunker. But what I remember about that was it was a Saturday, evening, and it was a packed house, and the Link Academy basketball team was sitting right in front of us from press row. And so that was Jordan Walsh and all those 5-star recruits in there.
Yeah.
And it was just a madhouse. Like, the place was so loud. You could tell those guys were really enjoying themselves. And so I'm thinking, like, I know Arkansas had a couple recruits there last night for that Tennessee game. And I'm like, dude, like, that experience compared to what those Link guys experienced that night against Mississippi State, it's just two completely different worlds, honestly. And not really, I went back and looked, and I didn't realize this until I got on Hog Stats. And so I don't know if it's necessarily a fond memory, but it's interesting. Nolan Richardson's last game he coached was against Mississippi State, a loss at Mississippi State. But yeah, all the way back in 2002. That's kind of crazy. Like, the end of that era, Gennaro Pargo went for 35 points in that game, bucket getter.
Wow.
Yeah.
That had to stink to go out last game in Starkville.
Oh yeah, man.
Tough as that.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man.
Miserable night, probably a miserable ride home.
Right.
Yeah,
and it's not just, dude, it's, Sam Pittman's first win.
Yeah.
At Mississippi State.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, let's go.
Shout
Football,
out
baby.
Greg Brooks for the pick 6 to get the thing started. The other one, take you back a little. You might remember this. Back in 1952.
Yeah, it's my wheelhouse.
Arkansas scored its first 100-point game against a college team.
Oh, okay.
So I guess you're playing like high schools and local YMCA squads. And,
Yeah.
Arkansas hung 102 on Mississippi State back in 1952. And then Arkansas's largest SEC game-winning margin beat Mississippi State 115-58.
Ooh.
Also, did you know, because I'm on Hog Stats too, shout out to Hog Stats, Arkansas and Mississippi State, I don't believe, have ever played both as ranked teams.
Oh,
like,
wow.
they've never had like a ranked versus ranked matchup, and they've played 68 times.
That's crazy.
That's pretty wild.
Well, that ain't gonna change this year. So
Yeah, and it's just like I've talked in the past about Starkville's just a tough place to win. Played 30 games there and won 7 of them. Like, that's hard. And A&M's another place that I've always said is tough to win. But Arkansas, I feel like they're like middling against Texas A&M. Whatever.
yeah.
Feel good. We got to keep the feel good Friday. But yeah,
I legitimately do feel a little bit better after that.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, you mentioned the Pittman winning his first game there, and first thing I thought about, like I just said, was Greg Brooks. Like, that was a heck of a a
Yeah, that was awesome.
Was that the first time he said turn that damn jukebox on? I think
Had to have been.
I think that was it.
Yeah.
I remember Juracek just kind of like, I don't want to say it was awkward, but it was like the team was just like ready to get crunk in the locker room, and Juracek was like, whoa, got to give the game ball to Sam Pittman. And then they went nuts. Yeah, that was, I'm getting tingly all over again.
Yeah. Gosh, man. Well, okay, that was good. I feel better about that. And actually, I'm just going to go ahead and spoil it now. Like, that's going to be a segment on this show moving forward the rest of the year.
Feel
like,
Good
when we
Friday,
record Monday, we will do a Feel Good Monday, or we'll make it sound cool for Texas A&M. I got some good ones for that. But, yeah, this is... we need this, as guys who cover the Razorbacks, and I know the fan base needs it too. So I think we just did everybody a solid with that. We're gonna do everybody another solid, and then we're gonna get out of here. Listen, we made some updates to the portal big board. How cool is that? And first of all, let's just throw out there that the last time we had a discussion about the portal, we had added a bunch of guys, like right behind you actually, who were, guys who we thought, they might be on teams where their coaches are about to get fired, or maybe they're going to take another job or retire or whatever. The more this is developed, I think we nailed a lot of those, including Ohio State, who has already fired Chris Holtman. So those dudes on that board, Felix Akpara, the Bruce Thornton
come
kid.
on down, buddy.
Yeah, so listen, go ahead and they're going to be moved to the top of our big board because they're probably going to be available.
And they're going to be right next to Anderson Garcia.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we feel good about that. There are some other hot seat programs, at least one in particular that I've been hearing more and more about, and it's Oregon State. Beaver Fever, man. Like they had that Elite Eight run when Arkansas made it to the Elite Eight in Indianapolis. If you remember, when we were getting ready to watch the Baylor game in Lucas Oil, and they had this huge ass curtain that's down in the middle, and then just to the right of us, Houston and Oregon State are in the middle of their game.
That's sick.
So it was like AAU Elite Eight basketball. Like it was crazy. But yeah, that was the last time Oregon State was good, and it's tanked since then. You know, they're obviously not a very good team, but they have, dude, just, I mean, a absolute dynamite scorer on that roster. His name is Jordan Pope, and he's a sophomore guard, just a big-time scorer. He's averaging 17 points per game, 2.3 rebounds, 3.4 assists. He can really go get it. He's only 6'2", but this guy can really play. He's kind of that, give me the ball, let me create, let me get a bucket, build this team around me kind of guy that we've talked about. And he's got some stuff to him. He's the one who hit the buzzer beater when they beat Arizona. Yeah,
nice.
He's that guy.
Nice.
And then I think the next game, it wasn't a game winner, but he hit like a crazy half court shot at the buzzer to beat halftime against whoever they were playing right after that. So like he's kind of got that clutch gene to him. He'll take that last shot.
Dude.
Yeah. My kind of guy for sure. So we had to get an Oregon State guy on there. And then you ran it back with a little bit of window shopping at South Carolina at a dude who I got to admit, Scotty, I didn't even think about when the Razorbacks played them, but probably should have. And if he becomes available, and it's interesting because Lamont Paris is kind of becoming a very sexy coaching carousel candidate. So you never know with that roster, but tell us about your guy who I just completely overlooked when they came to Fayetteville.
No, so don't blame you. It's like I feel like he's a perfect complement piece on a roster, and he's like, I don't want to like oversell this kid, but I feel like he's a key part of the reason that South Carolina is having the year that they're having. Like, you can throw out people are going to get their doors blown off at Auburn. That's just how Auburn plays at home.
Yeah.
But he had 19 at Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
And so the dude can play. And you're looking, like, only scores, like 61 points or whatever?
Yes.
So, I mean, he's close to scoring like a third of their points. He's Colin Murray Boyles. He's a freshman. And the more that I looked into him, might be a little bit of a stretch, but I think you made a lot of sense with the Lamont Paris talk. Mm-hmm. Like he's got national dudes talking about he's in the running for National Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about a program that was picked to finish last in the league. Lamont Paris tried to tell him.
Right. And he's already connected to Ohio State because he was a Big Ten assistant or whatever.
Yeah.
So, he might move on. Yeah. And then, hey, maybe this kid, Murray Boyles, follows him. Maybe he just enters the portal and you could throw a bag at him. But
it could be a stretch to say that he'll leave because he is a Columbia, South Carolina kid, like homegrown. Yeah. But I've been super impressed with him. He's long, more than capable scoring. He scored 31 on Vandy, whatever. But scoring 30 was easy.
Right.
Everybody would do it. Mentioned the game he had against Auburn. He's good on the glass. Like, he's one of those guys, too, like we talked about the Hakeem rate, like you'd add their steal and block percentage together, you get the Hakeem rate. I haven't looked at that, but I've looked at like his game log, and he'll give you like combined, four blocks and steals in a game, 5 blocks and steals, 6. So he can help you out defensively, too. He's like in that nice, perfect, pretty little range where he's 6'7", about 225, 230.
Got that Justin
somewhere
Smith
in there.
body on him.
The thing that intrigues me and makes me think that he could be a kid that leaves even though that's where he's from, is averaging 20 minutes a game and starting roughly half their games. And so maybe he wants an opportunity to be a bigger piece on a team, if he, could just grows a little bit more. But I think he's a big part of the reason, the Gamecocks I think they're for real. Like, they're really growing on me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they're really good, and he's really good too. So if he becomes available, you heard it here first.
I mentioned to you we were watching the early stages of South Carolina Auburn before Tennessee started, and I'm like, I look at South Carolina, and I'm like, I don't know how they're this good, but they just have a bunch of guys that just do their freaking job.
Yeah.
And Murray Boyles is a kid that it clicked with him right away as a freshman. So that's promising.
Absolutely did. Interestingly enough, we've got another guy who Arkansas has already faced this season, actually, from Old Dominion, who has already announced that he will enter the transfer portal, and that's Old Dominion freshman guard Vashawn Aleti. Now, this is a kid, he only scored 4 points in that game against Arkansas, whatever. But he's a bucket, man. I mean, if you take a look at him, 17.5 points per game as a true freshman. He had some huge games. I think he might have 30-pieced Arkansas State, so he was giving Darian Ford the business there. But, 5.7 rebounds per game, 3.1 assists, pretty efficient as a shooter, and he's a true freshman. Now, listen, the reason he's already announced he's entering the portal is because he got dismissed from Old Dominion, in fairness. Don't know what happened there. I have no idea. So you got to do a background check.
Yeah, he hasn't played their last 5 games.
And figure out what's going on. But it's been crazy at Old Dominion. Like, their head coach, they were at that Emerald Classic or whatever in Hawaii. Their head coach has a heart attack. And he's also, I saw, battling like prostate cancer or something.
Wow.
So he's been through it. He had to step down. So like an assistant has taken over the team. So they've had a lot going on there. Clearly he did something, so who knows what that is.
What that? Other teams are having stuff go on.
Yeah, exactly.
Around the program too. That's wild.
That's exactly right. So we'll see. But obviously, as a true freshman to put up those kind of numbers, that's definitely somebody that you check on. And he checks the box of, must knows who it is. It's prepared for him, scouted him in the past, and that's kind of in the wheelhouse there. So probably a name to know, and we'll see if anything comes from that. And we've also been adding, guys off of teams who Arkansas has played. They got in a run there where they were playing teams for a second time, like Georgia, that I think drove home our point on a guy like Silas Demery.
For sure.
Tennessee, though, you see anybody for the Vols that caught your eye? I know we've gotten some suggestions too in the chat and in the comments when we do these portal segments. So.
For sure, yeah. Shout out to Grant Stevens on Twitter for this one. Toby Awaka.
Yeah.
Like him.
He is a grown man.
He is. Yeah. 6'8", 250. So ideal height, and he's got some girth to him.
Yeah.
And that's what, he'd be, like if he was on Arkansas's roster right now, he'd be like their heaviest guy. Not that you're looking for heavy guys, but you mentioned a meatball earlier, which I'm still, like, I've been thinking about that ever since you said it. He's not exactly a meatball, but he gives you good size. Fun fact, by the way, Toby Awaka is a sophomore. Comes from New York, same hometown as Amari Stoudemire.
Oh, really?
Amari Stoudemire, one of my favorite players growing up, part of the 7 Seconds or Less Sons.
Yeah.
I'm in on guys in the front court that Rick Barnes likes.
Heard that.
Is they've developed a big rep over the years for just having dudes that, that look like they're literally chiseled from stone, like Schofield and another Josiah Jordan James is another. We
right.
Transparent. We talked about his arms before the game.
We did.
Like
Looks
he's
great.
just like just chiseled, dude. I like him a lot.
I do too.
Low maintenance offensively, just another, do what needs to be done guy.
Yeah.
Arkansas, I feel like they may have 1 or 2 of those guys, maybe. You need a team full of them.
Yeah.
And starting in the front, that would be maybe your front court might be the most pressing need.
Probably.
So I like him a lot.
And big guys don't usually leave Tennessee because they've developed them so well there. But
That's
it's not
true.
like he's playing a ton of minutes.
Yeah.
So, like stranger things have happened. But yeah, like if he becomes available, like that's the kind of dude you need to come in and, throw some bodies around.
For sure.
So
yeah, and he's played, he's a young guy, sophomore this year, but I looked up that he was a member of the 2023 men's U19 national team, averaged a double-double, led that whole event in rebounds and double-doubles. So I'm all for guys that can go do that, get on the glass, give you some buckets too, and low maintenance. Like I'm all about too a kid like a JD Note. Eric I missed that.
Mm-hmm.
Like Eric talking about a guy that's like low to no maintenance.
Yeah.
You just need those dudes to just go do their job.
100%.
6'8", 250 doing his job sounds good to me.
Yeah, exactly. We had another big man that was put onto our radar. We had multiple people who chimed in and commented on this, so thank you for that. No sooner than we talked about Florida Atlantic and their big man, Vlad Golden, who I love. Well, this guy for UAB absolutely dominated him. And so this was a name that was thrown out at us, Yaxel Lindeberg. He is a 6'9", 230-pound junior for UAB. This is a dude who's averaging a double-double, like 12.5 points, 10-point run rebounds per game. And UAB is a pretty good program.
Yeah.
He absolutely gobbles up rebounds. I want to say he had over 20 in that game against FAU.
Mercy.
And so if you can grab 20 rebounds on, a team as good as FAU, you can probably grab, plenty in the SEC.
For sure.
Big dude, finishes. I love anyone who averages a double-double. So sure, if he wants to, prove himself at a higher level and becomes available, sign me up for that. Great suggestion by our friends, in the chat, in the listener conversation there. We have one more that we're going to add, and we are taking a direct shot at our dear friend of the program, Coach Z, Matt Zimmerman, because he was at our launch party. He was checking out the board, and we were talking to him about a lot of different things. I know he's got some buddies over at Samford who took they got us, okay, with a bet. Just beat the brakes off of UNC Greensboro.
Yeah, on UNCG's home floor.
On UNCG's home floor, and we overlooked the fact that these Samford guys were 23-3.
Yes, that was on me.
Yeah, it was on me too. And full disclosure, we told Coach Z that we were unaware of how good Samford was. He was like, "Oh no, could have told you they'd be able to handle UNCG."
I know about Bucky McMillan, Ball. Like I know Samford's a good story. I did not know at the time going into that game they were 20-3. Yeah,
they're cooking. Turns out Z's got some buddies on that staff over there, and he told us, that he said you guys are cutthroat. Yeah, with your portal big board, you got to stay away from my guys over there at Samford. No, Z, you're right. We are cutthroat, and so we're not staying away from them. They have a big man who just listen. Anyone who goes by the name Akor, you got to have him. Yeah. Okay, you got to have him. I don't know anything about him other than he's their best player. Okay, so
I'll give you something that might get you tingly inside.
Yeah, get me going.
26 nationally in block rate.
Great. I was going to say, he's 6'9", 227, so that's a big body. We talked about the need in the front court. He's a junior, so again, a guy who's balling out at a lower level. Those are typically the ones who might be enticed to enter the portal and try to transfer up. Arkansas is going to have plenty of playing time in the front court, man. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And this dude's protecting the rim. He's averaging 15.4 points, 5.9 rebounds. If I remember correctly, he's knocking down threes.
He is. I was just about to say that.
I mean,
almost 47% from the year, like low volume, like 45 on the year. In conference play, 48.3% on 29. Yeah. So step out and shoot that thing.
Yeah, come on, man. That's what we need.
I think that's kind of what we were like best case scenario hoping Chandler Lawson would do.
Yes.
Like be selective about your perimeter jumpers, but I mean there's something to work with. We just haven't seen it.
Yeah.
It would be nice if Arkansas had a big that could, give people fits at the 5 spot, stepping out and knocking down a 3,
Yeah, it would be.
Real fast, do you know Samford's lost 1 game in league play?
Okay.
Do you know who it was to?
Furman. Let's go.
Furman.
It's the only other team I could think of in the league.
Yeah. Marcus Foster, 22 points, 11 boards in that game.
Listen.
Look, Furman, like I'm going to be so locked in on the SoCon conference tournament.
It's going to be a blast.
We might do a live stream for the SoCon conference tournament.
There's going to be future Razorbacks in that tournament. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
So, we're on it, dude.
Yeah. I'm all for that. Yeah. Samford's really fun. Bucky McMillan, dude. I don't like that's a name like this coaching carousel. That thing's starting to spin.
Oh, it's going to get weird.
Bucky McMillan's going to get him a hell of a job.
Yeah.
He's done an incredible job at Samford. Like I know about Samford because of him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's done a great job there.
Exactly. Okay. Well, listen, I think we approached this the right way because we had to get the this season talk out of the way early, and that was tough. And I was down, but then we had a little feel good Friday. Remembered that Arkansas has had success against Mississippi State in the past in a variety of sports in a variety of settings.
Yeah,
we needed that. And then we moved on to the future, which is still bright. You know why? Because there's going to be 2,000 kids who hit the transfer portal at the end of the season. and you're going to get some new bodies in here, some new faces. Hopefully it supplements, some promising guys coming back. I don't know. It might be an entirely new roster. We'll see. But regardless, it's exciting times. It's been rough going here for a little while. Arkansas basketball is going to be fine. They'll rebuild. It'll be okay. We're excited to cover it, and we're going to knock it out of the park.
You want another Mississippi State Feel Good Friday?
I do. Yeah, give me one more.
Do you remember the time that their baseball team won the national championship?
I do.
They haven't made the tournament since.
That does make me feel good.
They haven't made the postseason since.
That does make me feel good.
And
after DVH leads Arkansas to the College World Series title this season, I don't care if they make the tournament next year. I don't care. But just get it done this year. You owe it to the fans, okay? You owe it to the fans.
Facts.
Good luck on opening day. Take care of James Madison.
Yeah.
James Madison? James Madison.
James Madison.
Yeah.
Might be there?
Yeah.
We doing that? Late Valentine's Day?
We're in there.
All right.
I love it. Valentine's Day. It's a beautiful thing.
Let me hit checkout on them tickets then.
Oh, man. All right. Well, no, Scotty, appreciate you, brother, as always. It's been a pleasure doing this with you, even though this team
do a lot,
has been...
like full disclosure, Curtis does a lot of legwork on this show. I feel bad sometimes because he's setting everything up. He's leading it off. Got all of his notes over there. I feel like I'm weighing him down sometimes, but appreciate you, brother. This is always fun.
You're the face of the program, and that entire big board is your doing. I might have provided a few names, but everything that's on there you've done. So listen, this is a group effort, and it's been fun. And we're gonna get through this season. We're gonna get through portal season, and we will get through this Mississippi State game on Saturday for better or worse, and then we'll talk about it. So be on the lookout for that. But as always, for Scotty Bordelon, this has been Curtis Wilkerson with Natty State Sports. It's been the Pod at the Palace. We appreciate you guys, and we will talk to you soon.